Hey, Wiki Deek here. It is October 11th, 2019, a Friday. Let's talk Kings. So the Los Angeles Kings have played the first three games, so let's draw conclusions from them. I may or may not have posted a previous video suggesting somebody be an idiot to draw any conclusions from first, 9 games of a season. You really need to wait to 10 to see what a team's about, but screw it. Let's take a look. So you watched the games. My initial impressions were, my God, we're a cup contender. That would be based on the game against the Oilers, the belief that we could tighten up defensively, probably keep the offensive going, and then that first period against Calgary. At the end of that, I thought, holy crap, this team has made a major turn. And then the rest of the season kept going. And after you watch that Vancouver game, it's like, oh, Lordy. So what's the mock draft look like? In reality, the Kings pretty much look like kind of what I think most of us expected to look like. Improved, but there's still going to be some awful games. There are going to be some games where they're good. And there's just going to be kind of this weird mix. And so they're probably going to have a rebound season, but not like a huge rebound. My prediction was 85 points before the season started, and I'll stick with that, somewhere around there. I know some people have predicted them to make the playoffs. No, not going to happen. I know others have predicted them to be horrible. So like we had the USA Today, I think, had them, what they were suggesting, they were going to score 54 points this year. No, 54 points. Now, we all watched last year. They were horrible. They had 71 points last year. They would have to be 17 points worse than last year to finish with 54 points. They would have to physically not appear at games. I'm talking not metaphorically, physically, like not show up for the games to get down to 54. Hey. So let's just cut to the chases. Surprises. Who are the positive surprises? So I'm not talking about players who are necessarily playing well. We're talking about people who are really surprised here. And the obvious one is Dom Amadio. My God, what did he do in the offseason? He looks like an entirely different player. He's been great. He looked awesome in the preseason, but of course it's the preseason. Well, he's carried it right over into the regular season. I think he's been absolutely excellent. Really happy for him because he's been doing the jump between the AHL and the NHL for a couple of years. He just looks great. I mean, I don't know if it's a system or is he just coming in with a different attitude, but he's shooting and scoring. Defensively is where he needs to be. He's very good with his stick. He's just a revelation. Frankly, I think the Kings' fourth line is, probably been their second best line overall, if not their first, best line. They've been very impressive. Clifford's been Cliffy, Lewis has been Lewis, and Amadio's been doing some very, very good stuff. So really, really happy with him as far as surprises go. I think on defense, Walker. Now we always knew Walker has an offensive force, and he's done pretty much what we expected there. But it used to be a trade-off in the defensive zone where he'd be pretty crappy at times. He hasn't this year. He's been pretty solid on defense. No huge glaring errors like you saw last year or in the preseason, to be honest. So full credit to him. I think he's really turned it around and looked pretty good defensively. And then Hutton, wow, kind of surprised nobody signed him earlier. He's played really well. He's had a couple of rough moments, but considering he just joined the team very shortly ago, I think he's been really, really pretty good. So credit to him. What about disappointments? Well, obviously you have to start net quick. Kind of surprised. Thought he looked pretty good in the preseason. And for whatever reason, it just hasn't gone well here in the first 3 games. Of course, he only played 2 of them. And I didn't think he was that bad against the Oilers. I didn't think there were any egregious goals. I think the problem there was more than just the defenders, where some of Roy in particular was just getting abused. And the goalie can only do so much. Against Vancouver, that was not a great game by Quick, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him and how this plays out. I didn't think Campbell was all that great against Calgary. That goal from the corner was just unacceptable. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. But you could see them starting to split starts between the two of them. And I imagine the hope is Campbell plays well enough that maybe they trade him at the deadline. Then they bring Peterson up. And Peterson slowly evolves into the starter with Quick mentoring him. And that's how all that plays out. Now, I know I see everything on the boards. Quick, trade Quick. To who? He's got a 770 save percentage. He's given up like 6 goals a game. Last year, over the full season, he had an 880 save percentage. Who is going to trade for him? It is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Trade for him. Trade him. Trade him. No. If some GM traded for him, I mean, that's like a fireable offense. Now, hopefully, Quick plays better the rest of the year, and we start, seeing a 915, 920 save percentage, that kind of thing. Then, potentially they could trade him if they take back a bunch of money, which they would probably be willing to do. But given last season and given his start to this season, Quick's going to have to show a long stretch of quality play before anybody's even going to sniff. Just because, I mean, yes, I love Jonathan Quick. And 2012, he was incredible. 2014, he really battled through it. We got 2 cups with him, and I will always appreciate that from him. But GMs are not looking at 2012 and 2014. They're looking at 2019 and 2018, and he's been awful. And that pains me to say that, but it's just the fact of it. And so they're not going to trade for him. What about the buyout? I also see that. Buy him out. Buy him out. Well, it's always easy to say that when it's not your money. Problem with the buyout is he has his contract this year and 3 more years. So if you bought him out, you're looking at paying him for like the next 8 years. Well, we may not need the cap space now, but we're going to need it eventually because all these prospects that we've drafted that we think are so great, Turcotte, Kaliev, all these guys, well, hopefully they are great. But if they are, their entry-level contract ends in 3 years once they start playing at the pro level. So we're talking probably 4 years out. Okay, well, we're going to need money to sign them then. And just go look at Toronto to see what kind of problems can arise there. Toronto is still paying Phil Kessel like $1.2 million a year. You think they would love to have that money right now? Yeah, they would. So the buyout's a non-starter. I imagine they keep Quick, and at some point he evolves into the backup. And we have the Seattle expansion draft. They put him into the draft and hope Seattle takes him, which they probably won't. And then he just slowly fades away and retires there. It seems to me that's really the only logical way for this to play out, unless, of course, he rebounds and suddenly starts playing like the old Jonathan Quick. But, we're now looking at a year and a half since that happened. So, defense, who's been a disappointment? Feel bad for the kid, Roy. Thought he was solid last year when he came up, but he's just been getting abused this year. McDavid destroyed him, but McDavid destroys a lot of people. But he looked bad against Vancouver to me too. You could see him if I don't know if he's waiver exempt or not, but if he is, you can see him going to the AHL pretty quick just to get his game together, maybe come back up later in the year. Because he's not an offensive force. He's a stay-at-home defenseman, basically. And if you're a stay-at-home defenseman and you're getting beat in the defensive zone, there's only one way that's going to end up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him sent down. What about forward disappointments? Kempe. When does the dream die with the Kings here? They keep trying to force feed this kid into into becoming an offensive force, and it's just not going to happen. He is just not a natural offensive force. He's not a natural shooter. He's not a natural passer. It's just, we're on year 3 here. Does anybody look at him and see anything that suggests to you that this guy is going to become, a guy we can count on for 25 goals a year? I don't see it. What the hell is he doing on the power play? I mean, seriously. When we have him out there on the power play with Kopitar, we now have 2 players who don't shoot. Again, I think Amadio is our 2C by December, if not earlier, because after a while, McClellan's just going to be like, look, I didn't draft him. I didn't bring him up. I don't know what to tell you, but this kid's not a 2C. Other disappointments, Carter. Yeah, he looks a little better, but we're 3 games in, no points, -3. This guy used to be a Flyers fan, and I loved him on the Flyers. I was pissed when he was traded, and he came to the Kings, and you remember him. Don't think about the last few years. Think about the Cup years. This guy's a natural goal scorer, flying down the wing and just potting shots off of the post. and in. He's just not that guy anymore. He just doesn't shoot. I mean, he had an opportunity against Vancouver last night, a golden opportunity to score, and he didn't even shoot. And, he looks better physically, but, well, again, it's crazy to use 3 games as a sample, but I just don't see him being much different than last year. What about Kovalchuk? I know everybody likes to crap on Kovalchuk. I'm not that disappointed with Kovalchuk. First game, yeah, he had some issues, but the team had a lot of issues defensively. Second game, I think he was great. I think it was one of the best games he played with the Kings. No defensive liabilities. I mean, he's never going to be a defensive shutdown forward, but he was where he was supposed to be. He didn't cause any problems defensively. And on offense, I thought he was excellent. Digging pucks out of the pile, get it to Foley for a goal. His little hand-eye coordination on his goal, where he grabbed the puck coming out of the air. That was really good. Game against Vancouver, yeah, he was bad, Covey. Also a little unlucky. I mean, people are criticizing him for, the guy that shot the puck off of his skate into the net. How is that his fault? I mean, if somebody shoots a puck off of your skate, I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate. Bad luck. But, I mean, it's not like he kicked the puck into his own net. So, I think it's a mixed results. It's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out because McClellan has a problem, and we've already seen it in today's practices where he's recognized his second line is, up and down, inconsistent. So what does he do with Carter and Kempe and Kovalchuk? If I was him, which is a bit of a laugh, I would put Kovalchuk with a center who can feed him like Amadio, and then another winger who's very defensively responsible like Lewis. Let Lewis go do the grunt work along the walls, get the puck out to Amadio, or Amadio gets the puck, whatever, and they get it to Covey, and then you're much better defensively if you have Lewis back there with Amadio. They can kind of cover if Covey goes for a skate, which of course he's going to do every once in a while. And that way you have kind of a more solid defensive chance. You're not leaving the goalie out to dry. But I guess we'll have to see how McClellan deals with it. It's hard to see that second line staying in place. You have a subpar center, subpar right wing, and a left wing who can score, but sometimes is off skating out in the field somewhere. So, anyways, another player that bears watching, and I'm not suggesting is a disappointment, but I am suggesting you might pay closer attention to him because there's some interesting things going on with him. Is Kopitar. Now this is one of his bounce back years, so we're expecting the big year from him, and it's kind of interesting because this is a different system for him. He's always had some liabilities in skating, but the old King system hit him because that style didn't really require you to be a quick skater. He's kind of being exposed in this system. Some of his turnovers have been awful and very un-Kopitar-like. And I don't mean just because they were turnovers. I mean, they were turnovers that led directly to goals. Getting his pocket picked in the defensive zone, kind of troubling, to be honest. Now, don't get me wrong. He's our best center by eons. I'm not suggesting that he should be benched or anything of that sort, but just watch him because he makes some kind of un-Kopitar plays that you would never expect to see. So I'm kind of wondering how well he fits into this system. But again, we're 3 games in, so what are you going to say? It's not that big of a deal. Hopefully we'll know better by 10 games, and hopefully we'll look a hell of a lot more like that first period against Calgary because that was freaking amazing. So anyways, I'm burned out. It was a long week. Hope you're doing well. Hope none of your houses have been caught on fire or your van or the car you're living in, whatever it may be. Deke out.